Good morning again from Augusta, Georgia. It doesn't look like I've showered. You think maybe it's the same day that I shot the video yesterday. No, full disclosure, I did shower. I had a wonderful night's sleep and threw on the same clothes I had on yesterday because so much is already packed. So I wanted to do another video because yesterday the audio was so terrible from the FeiyuTech Pocket 3. You had to listen to the tree frogs in the background. They were really going. I like to sit out at my outside office when I work, and I thought it made for a nice backdrop. Well, from the video standpoint, it was. From the audio standpoint, you have my apologies. In any event, we're experimenting with the new FeiyuTech Pocket 3. This is a not quite ready for prime time, really neat little action camera. It's got some instability in the app, and it's got some pretty poor audio. I did as much editing as I could, given the time allowed yesterday, to make that a little bit more palatable. But in any event, I wanted to do this video as a thank you for suffering through yesterday's about travel planning, and give you a little preview of our upcoming trip. So if you listened to or watched both, hopefully, yesterday's video, you heard that we were going on a 3-week trip going to Istanbul, going to Turkey down the Aegean coast, and then through both destinations in the Greek islands and in the Greek mainland. So I thought I would give a preview of coming attractions. So we do land tomorrow night in Istanbul, and we're going to get to the hotel near Taksim Square. And the following morning, catch up on a little needed rest, do a little walking around in Istanbul. We have to get checked into the ship, and from there we will then have roughly 24 hours settled into home base, as I call it, home base, when you're settled into where you're going to be for a little while on the ship, to then go back out with the Istanbul card. And I'm going to show you the Istanbul card. Well, I was going to until I remember that my wallet's still inside. The Istanbul card, you can look it up. It's a red hard card, looks like a credit card, and it is the Metro Pass for Istanbul. So I've got some friends to see. As I mentioned, I hope to get out to dinner with one of them. I have a special delivery for him per his request. We keep in close contact all the time on WhatsApp. So you're going to meet him, if not on Monday, then certainly during the day Tuesday at his business establishment in the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul, which is one of my favorite places in the world. I'm an auctioneer. I've dealt in antiques and collectibles for many years, so I have relationships with some people there that I have cultivated over time. So from Istanbul, we leave with the ship Tuesday about 6 o'clock in the evening, according to the itinerary that I've got in front of me here on the computer. And our first port of call is Çanakkale. Çanakkale is on the Aegean coast of Turkey. We've got 3 ports of call on the Aegean coast. And Çanakkale I know absolutely nothing about, so we'll be both of us seeing it for the first time, all of us seeing it for the first time. And we have, evidently we've got 8 hours in port in Çanakkale. So we shall see what we shall see. The following day, we go a little farther down the coast. We go to Çeşme, and Çeşme may very well be very interesting. We've got 12 hours in Çeşme. However, my plan is to take our passports and take ourselves and board a ferry over to Chios Island. We're going to go to Chios and spend some time on Chios. I've never been there. I think it may be more interesting to the travel set than Çeşme, and I think it'll be more interesting from my perspective than Çeşme, but I may be speaking too soon. So we will know more as we know more. The following day, a port of call that you may recognize if you've been on a Greek Islands cruise is Kuşadası. Kuşadası is the nearest coastal city to the ancient city of Ephesus. And we have been to Ephesus, and I have been to Ephesus myself more times. I know it pretty well. I don't think I could be a registered tour guide with the country's cultural department, or whatever it is that certifies the tour guides. I know a few of those tour guides. They're really great people, and have assisted me and many others in learning a whole lot. So if you've never been to Ephesus, either hire a private guide, or on a cruise ship you can book a shore excursion. They will put you with a qualified guide who will explain and interpret the site very well, and I encourage you to get out and do some exploration. Maybe I will share some photos of Ephesus and link them to the end screen or to the description, and we'll go from there. But in lieu of Ephesus, because we've got 14 hours in port, in lieu of Ephesus, we're going to do the same routine again, if we were able to do it the first day without any trouble, going across the Turkish-Greek border on the ferry, and visit Samos Island. I think we've got more to see again on Samos Island, particularly from a tourism perspective. And I have never been to Samos Island, so I would like to do a little homework on it, and I would like to spend some time there. And the last ferry gets back, and it leaves us a few hours to go around town in Kushadasha. So maybe we can see a lady making rugs, or we'll show you something that I consider to be avoidable, which is the bazaar in Kushadasha. It is a tourist trap, unlike the Grand Bazaar in Istanbul. The bazaar in Kushadasha is not as interesting, at least to me. Our following day, forgive me, I'm working on the computer trying to pull this itinerary back up. We are on Patmos Island, made famous by St. John. He wrote the Revelations on Patmos Island, and there are numerous sites connected to St. John that we hope to be able to get to. That will definitely be a rental car day for driving around and seeing what there is to see. I have never been to Patmos Island, and I am very much looking forward to going to Patmos. In contrast, the following day, we will be headed to Santorini. Santorini is the poster child of Greek islands. Anyway, if you look up Greek islands in Google, you will invariably get a picture of the rocky cliff that is the port at Santorini, depending on how you approach it, on a cruise ship or on a ferry. They come into two different places. There's a gondola ride up to Fiera, which is the town in Santorini, and usually, unless you book a shore excursion, to Ia, or another site such as the village of the Minoan civilization on Santorini, you're probably not going to see on your visit what I'm going to show you unless you do what I do. And I think there are a few rental car agencies who know me by name on Santorini, because when I get to Santorini, I know exactly what to do. I go up the gondola as fast as I can go. I go right through the little village that you'll see towards the end of my presentation of Santorini, or the end of the second video or third video, because I may shoot multiple on Santorini. You will see the village of Fiera, the town, the city, however you want. But we hope to get up to Ia. Parking is very difficult in Ia, and it is the high season, so we may find difficulty doing a whole lot in Ia. It is a tourist destination, and by road it's a little challenging to get to because it kind of turns you around and doesn't let you access it very readily, very easily. I'm going to try to play with some of that and figure out the secret back way in, because I always seem to end up on the wrong way of the one-way street and cannot progress any further to where other places to park are and so on. I have successfully navigated it, it can be a bit of a pain. So maybe we'll have a video dedicated solely to parking on Iya. I'm sure that'll be very popular. We'll also get down to the south end of the island. There is a monastery and a Greek military post way up on a mountain. My cover page for the YouTube channel and for the Patreon page is from this vista. It is absolutely stunning, and it is one seen by nobody who rides on a tour bus, because the road is inaccessible to tour buses. You have to have a rental car, a taxi, a scooter, and you have to be pretty well self-motivated or on a very private tour to get up there. It is a terrific spot. I tell anybody going to Santorini, you must rent a car, you must go up here, you can't miss it. There's a redstone beach. There's a lot of things to see on Santorini that you will not see on a package tour on a shore excursion. I first went to Santorini on a Greek cruise line, and I think we had, because we were in Crete that morning, which makes no sense. The Greek cruise landed in Crete, and there was a shore excursion to the Knossos Palace, the ancient palace on Crete, and I was sick that morning. I didn't go, and then we sailed away. I don't know how we got to Santorini that quickly, but we got to Santorini incredibly quickly, and so we landed in Santorini, and we had, I want to say, 4 hours. And in those 4 hours, I went over to Hertz. Hertz is now gone out of Santorini, but I went over to Hertz, and I said, I need a rental car for about 2.5 hours. And they looked at me kind of funny, and I said, just trust me here. I want to see something. I don't want to just get stuck here. And the majority of people were just stuck in the village. They said, well, we've only got 4 hours. Don't want to miss the ship. And I think we were headed back to Athens that night. So I said, let's go out with a bang. So we saw so much. We went up to the top of the mountain in the rental car. We did not get to Iya. So on a subsequent visit, I started investigating Iya and the area around the airport and the other coast. So enough about Santorini. I've spent a lot of time on it, but you're going to see a whole lot about Santorini. The following day, we are traveling to Kavala, and Kavala, Philippi, the Philippians in the Bible, which is way up close to the Turkish border, east of Thessaloniki. So we're going to be at sea all day, and we'll do some, by then I'll know the ship well enough, we can do a little bit of expose on the ship. Other people have done this. I have noticed on YouTube, I've watched a few of those videos, and possibly I'll do a job at least as good as they did for you, to show you the pros and cons of the Azamara. I like small ship cruising. I don't like a lot of children. I don't like a lot of noise. I don't like casinos very much. Having worked out in Las Vegas for a few years, casinos were good for food and not much else, and the ship casinos don't even have that. So, generally. So we're going to be in Philippi. I've never been up in that part of Greece at all. The following day we go over to Thessaloniki, and then the penultimate day we sail south once again, and initially we were supposed to go to Mykonos. Mykonos is the other poster child for Greek islands. Mykonos is one where people go to Mykonos, they do a shore excursion if they're on a cruise, they go and stay in the town, Mykonos, Hora, and they just don't seem to get out very much. Now, Mykonos is not, in my opinion, as interesting from a tourism perspective as is Santorini. It's also very expensive. which is a strange contrast. But the last time we were there, and I had done this before, the last time we were there, we rented a smart car because the roads are incredibly narrow and there are some incredibly steep hills. And if you do not have and I'll tell you something funny here in a moment, if you do not have a very narrow car and you do not have a reasonably powerful, from a power to weight standpoint anyway, a smart car is quite quick, car, you may struggle to get up the hill. And there's a lighthouse at the top of the island that's quite good, and it overlooks an island that I will have to put in the end screen because it's not immediately coming to mind. It's not a very populous island just north of Mykonos. It's not Naxos or any of those. They're a lot farther away. But there are some pretty beaches. There are some beach resort type places that are under construction in Mykonos. So unfortunately we're not going to Mykonos. We are going to Syros Island, and the reason that Azamara provided was that Mykonos had 9 cruise ships scheduled to be in port that day, and we weren't going to fit, even though we're a small cruise ship, and they also thought that it would not be to our benefit to go to Mykonos that day. So having been to Mykonos many times, I don't feel that I'm missing very much. The cigar shop there isn't even as good as it used to be, so there you have it. I will miss seeing my friend George, the jeweler. Hi, George. But other than that, so we're going to Syros, and at the present moment, I know nothing about Syros, and I'm looking forward to exploring Syros with you. Now, we're in a little bit of a quandary, because the following day we're scheduled to land in Piraeus at the port of Athens, just south of the city. And I want to go to Crete and see a friend of mine. And I am watching ferry schedules, and one has already been canceled that would have been very good. So I may take a ferry to Crete via several other islands, because there is no direct ferry from Syros to Heraklion or Chania. So we are in TBD mode of how and when we go to see our friends in Rhythmno, who I mentioned yesterday, and I'm looking forward to seeing them. God willing, I make it there. So that is our current travel itinerary. Everything is subject to change, but I think it provides a great preview of coming attractions. And I've got to go in here in just a little bit and finish doing some packing and some organizing. And in any event, the next time you'll see me is going to be either at Atlanta Airport. I don't think we're going to have time for the run through Heathrow, but we'll see. If we get stuck at Heathrow, we'll have lots of time. We'll go to the very nice BA Club at Heathrow and wait for the next flight to Istanbul, whenever that might be. So hopefully that is not the case. Keep your fingers crossed for us as we fly tonight, if you happen to be watching this immediately on publication. And again, thanks for watching. Subscribe and share. Appreciate your support on Patreon. And we'll see you as we progress on our trip. Take care.